Hey there, good morning. It is 7 a.m. Ooh. Hey there. Well, alrighty. Good morning, everyone. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to 7 a.m. It is Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. And I've been thinking a lot about a few subjects lately, especially growing up in the Bronx. For some reason, these conversations have been coming up more for me with others, and the ideas that came out of these conversations kind of propelled me in this direction where I thought, you know what, maybe I should talk a little bit about this because it's one of those subjects that I really don't have experience on as a user, right? It's like the one, but I have a lot of experience in it. So it's like it could be like a riddle, right? What's something that I have a lot of experience on, but I've never done, right? That's a riddle, and that's basically drugs, right? I've never done drugs. I've never. I think I smoked a cigarette as a joke once. Um, I've never smoked weed. Never done any kind of drugs. I drank alcohol, uh, and I've been drunk. I've done that. But I've never done any drugs, so I don't know how heavy that addiction is. I don't understand it. Now I do know that the best way to prevent someone from using drugs is to educate them when they're young to know the dangers and what can happen if you take the drugs and the addiction part of it, which a lot of people don't understand because they think that, well, we're just hanging out with my friends. My friends are doing it. They're fine. We're all having a good time. And I'm sure I'll be fine, and not realizing that they have maybe an addictive personality, or they have some type of pain that they're trying to cover up. And sometimes, from what I hear, I guess like alcohol, people drink. They they drink their sorrows away, sort of. Well, they think they do, and what it does, it just creates more problems. So it's one of those things that I think I have experience on because of growing up in the South Bronx, growing up surrounded really by a tremendous amount of drugs and drug use, and losing people and seeing the decline of someone who decides they're going to go that route, right? And for some reason, innately, I just knew that I didn't want to do that. I knew deep down it was not a good thing. I don't know why I knew that. I just knew I didn't want to get involved in drugs. It never even occurred to me, if you can believe that, in the Bronx, where somebody was smoking weed or God forbid crack, that I thought, maybe I'll give that a try. Maybe I'm going to inhale that rock into my chest. It just never occurred to me that I would go anywhere near something like that. And I can name you between 10 and 15 friends off the top of my head, that I lost to drugs, either through the violence that drugs create, through being arrested, and through being murdered, like actual cold blooded murder, um, and always related to drugs. So, drugs are a problem. They are a severe problem. Unfortunately, they're a problem for the inner city, in the inner cities more than anything else. Now, of course, there are drugs everywhere. The richest people uh, party with drugs, and this is where it becomes really tragic, right? Because I don't think that there's enough education money spent on educating children or just people in general on what these drugs are. Just not the name. The name is the name that we give things, right? It's like, so people will hear something like weed or marijuana, and now it's legalized in some parts, and there's all these foods and these things made with the CBD stuff, and so it's becoming acceptable, right? That doesn't mean that it doesn't create the damage to the brain cells and to everything else. And I know there's a big controversy about that. And I know people are gonna be like, "No, it doesn't do anything. It actually opens up creativity." I mean, listen, if you need it to to be creative, then that's what you need. Some people are just born creative and don't need that. So other people need it to get them through because they're going through some type of pain or something. Other people think that it opens up their their minds to other possibilities. And there are some drugs that do that. They take, but it's not something you can control, and that's where the problem is, because there is no control over it. You're kind of like, it's just a crapshoot, right? Like LSD, right? I've heard some of my favorite musicians of all time talk how LSD was the thing that actually opened up their minds to the possibilities of all the music and all the things that they created. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh Lord, I mean, what do you say to and I'm not saying any names because I love these artists and I don't want to put them in that light. Um, but what do you say when one of your favorite, when one of your idols is is promoting LSD as a way to be creative, something that actually helped him to achieve the greatness that he is, right? And so I sit there and I think, wow, we're in real trouble because some kid in central Ohio is sitting there going, wow, that's what I gotta do. I want to be like him, you know. And they're gonna go out, but they might not have the same. These people in my mind were geniuses when they were born. They were geniuses, musical geniuses from a very small age. Whatever they did, that they feel that they gave them that ability. I think they already had that ability spiritually, and maybe this kind of heightened some type of sensory perception of some sort. Because sometimes drugs do that, especially like a mind altering drug. Remember, it's a mind altering drug. It alters the mind. Yeek. So maybe it did something, I can't really say because I've never tried it. But you hear people talk about certain drugs that help them be creative. And here's where we run into a real big problem, because education is just not really done enough, even by artists, and there are artists out there talking about it, but it's so into the culture. It's so prevalent in there. And when I was playing at the clubs more, remember, I was playing when there was smoking allowed in the bars, right? So that in New York City, and so people were smoking a lot of things in there, and it was not a pretty sight. It was not I would come home. Literally, this was when I first got together with my wife and first got married, and I would come home late with the smell of all this, and I would literally have to strip at the front door of the apartment, put everything into a hefty bag because it reeked so badly that my wife would go crazy. She's not a smoker either, and I would actually have to lock up the bag and put it aside, go in the shower off everything, and then put on new clothes. And then in the morning, I'd have to wash that separately, not attached to any other clothes. So there's something in the air that really is attaching itself to you, your fibers and your physical body. So if you can imagine what it's doing to the inside of your body when you're puffing in that smoke. So just to reference where I get a lot of my information from is this organization called drugfreeworld.org, which they have these little booklets called The Truth About Drugs, and they do a lot of work throughout the world, actually, presenting these books in a bunch of different languages. I think it says it somewhere in the book how many different languages there are, but 22 languages. So it's in 22 different languages, and they go around the world and they talk about the different types of drugs and little things about drugs of our culture, our drug culture. Um, and I think one of the wonderful things about this is that it's all in one place. It's a little tiny booklet you can hand out to someone, um, kids in schools. So this is actually great for teachers that want to educate their children, their students on drugs. And this is all stuff that's been researched, especially when it goes into some of the other things. Why do people take drugs? And it goes into how and how drugs work. How do drugs work? And then it talks specifically, which I think is wonderful, about each drug, the popular ones. You know, and you can see here it's got all the popular drugs: marijuana, alcohol, ecstasy, cocaine, and crack cocaine, crystal meth, inhalants, heroin, LSD, prescription drug abuse, right? And then when you go inside, it'll give you the specifics of the drug, the history of the drug, short-term memory, short-term effect, long-term effect, and specifics. So this one is about marijuana, marijuana. I don't know why I have to say marijuana that way. Um, then alcohol, long-term effects. Of course, this is a lot of people drink alcohol. I drink wine every once in a while. I haven't had wine. Well, I had a bottle of wine last year, but the long-term effects. So if you're constantly drinking, I know people that go out every Friday to drink, or whenever their days are off, it's a day to go out to drink because that's what you do, because it's your day off and you're going out. If you go to a party, you have to drink, right? And uh, and matter of fact, when I go to a party, I went to a bar because I was producing an event at a bar. This was on a Halloween a few years ago, and I was in the event, just kind of running around doing whatever I'm doing, and the bartender was like, John, free drinks all night, right? John, you want to drink? And I was like, yeah, not really. I don't drink actually. That I don't drink like that. So I was like, no, I don't drink. He was like, you don't you don't drink? And he was like, he could understand. He was like, you don't drink? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, I'll have something every once in a while, but right, I'm okay right now. And I was working. I don't like to have my mind kind of altered when I'm trying to focus on trying to get a show out. We had over 100 people come. The mayor was there, so it was a lot of pressure on me. So, but it becomes a strange thing. You become the oddball, and I'm like, I'm always been the oddball. I've always been. So for me to be the oddball, it doesn't matter. But there are other people that are just want to fit in. They want to be liked. They think that they need to be part of the thing. This is more on crack cocaine. I'll tell a crack story in a little bit, because who doesn't want to hear a good crack story? I mean, we're all in need of crack stories every once in a while, right? Crystal meth. Crystal meth sounds like a really cool name, though. Crystal meth. It just sounds like a great name for a band, or there probably is a band named Crystal Meth, but they probably didn't survive because they died of crystal meth. Inhalants. So there's a lot of other inhalants things, because what they do is I guess the street names are called poppers, whippets, laughing gas, rush. Um, and I guess they put inhalant things in a bag and they just inhale. I mean, good lord. But and then of course this is one of the worst drugs, right? Heroin, from what I've heard. I mean, injecting something into your body, bloodstream. I'll tell a heroin story too. How much time we got? Yeah, we got time. I'll tell a few stories of things that I've experienced, and of course the one that I mentioned earlier, LSD, and the street names, of course, acid and Purple Heart. I never heard of that before. California Sunshine, Tab, Dots. I guess there's a lot of street names I never heard of. But anyway, this little booklet here. If anybody's interested in this booklet, I will send you a free copy of this booklet. All you need to do is email me at johnhenrysoto@protonmail.com, and I will get that out to you ASAP. All you have to do is just write on the title, on the heading of the email, so I'll know that it's coming from this: The Truth About Drugs. Just You can write that on the title, and I'll know that it's somebody requesting the book. Um, so crack. I remember when crack came out. It was, I was in the Bronx. It was I was in my teens, early teens, and I heard the expression crack. People talking about it, crack, and then the crack is whack. People, the campaign trying to deter people from crack. I don't think they did a good enough job explaining what it does. Um, I did find out, through research, that crack. The reason it's called crack is because you're actually cooking cocaine rocks into and as you're cooking it, it crackles, so it's called crack. It goes. So that's I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, I researched it by asking, crack users, and I knew crack users. I lost a lot of crack. Crack came in with such force. It decimated families. It was so fast. I mean, literally was a summer. At the end of that summer, there were people dead everywhere. It came in so fast. We were like, what the hell? It was a real. You talk about a pandemic. You talk about people every other day just dying in their homes and on the streets, from smoking crack. It was unbelievable what was happening. Um, and I was just shocked that people would continue to do it, having seen the results. People just kept doing it. I had two particular friends that I remember, and there was a lot of stories that I remember, tragic stories. But there was one girl, this girl that I went to school with, to high school with, and she was, when you see a girl, she was the it girl. She was the girl that had the beautiful, beautiful face. She was Spanish, but she didn't look Spanish either, actually. But she had these green eyes and this blonde hair, um, and she was just beautiful. I mean, she was the girl that when you see, you go, "Whoa, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful woman, beautiful girl." Right? We're teenagers at that time, right? And so high school goes by. um, After high school, I remember I was going to this little store. They called it the pipe store. At the time, I didn't know why it had that name, called the pipe store, but they sold different types of pipes for smoking, and so people would go in there and buy these little pipes. It was basically a grocery store, like a bodega, but that specific one had all the smoking paraphernalia, all the things that you use. um, I'll get that word eventually. Um, and so I'm walking out. I went in there. I bought some drinks or something, and I'm coming out the door. And inside, coming in the door, is this girl. Now I recognized her because of her blue eyes, or green. I can't remember if they were green or blue, but they were just beautiful. They were more like combination hazel eyes. And she walked in, and she was a skeleton. She was. I couldn't believe that this, and I knew it was her because it was the same face, but her cheeks had sunken in. She was thin. Her clothes didn't even fit her anymore. They were. She had these like stonewashed baggy jeans with this baggy like shirt, like it was a white shirt. Um, and she walked in pale face like this, and she looked at me and she recognized me. We hadn't seen each other for a little bit. It wasn't too long afterwards, but like I said, it was fast. Crack came in and whoosh, wiped out everyone. Um, Not everyone, wiped out a lot of young kids, and adults as well. Um, and she kind of looked at me, and she kind of just looked away really quickly. Like didn't want to confront me. Obviously, I didn't want to confront her either, because what do you say at that point? And to be honest, I don't even know what happened to her after that. She's probably either dead, or hopefully she got cleaned up. um there was one other kid that I remember. He got so much into it, like he was desperate. He would stand in the corner, just his fingernails, and we would see him, and we would be like, "Hey, you okay, man?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And he'd be like just picking his finger, looking around and stuff, and trying to figure out. I guess at the time I didn't know. I thought he was just like nervous about something, but I didn't realize he was just trying to figure out how is he going to get money for his next thing. He's in the desperation where his high is going away or it's gone away. And this is a kid who sold. His mother came home from work one day, and all her television and a whole bunch of furniture and a whole bunch of stuff was stolen out of her house, or so she thought. And when she's calling the police and everything, she saw one of the people in the hallway, and she said, "No, actually, this guy, her son, sold it to me. Sold me. He said you were moving, and he sold me a bunch of stuff. I gave him this money." So so he basically just sold his mother's stuff, for drugs. I mean, this is the desperation. He knew he had to get caught. He sold it to somebody in the building, right? So this is the thing about drugs, that you don't think clearly. All you're thinking about is that next high. And what a tragic life to be living, to have something control you to that degree that you would actually disrespect your own mother, who goes to work and is providing, for you, giving you a home, giving you a place to sleep and food, and still you go out and so this is the power of drugs, because it's not that he didn't love his mother. He did love his mother, and I knew this guy, and he passed away tragically, but I knew this guy, and you start thinking about the power of these drugs and what they're doing to, how can they make someone actually do something like that. And it goes even worse than that, right? Because then there's murders, and there are people who rob others and kill them for their money because of these drugs. So, does everyone who uses drugs go out and do horrible things like that? Probably not. There are people who they want to be called a functional drug addict. You're not a functional drug addict. You're just a drug addict who hasn't collapsed yet, right? You haven't failed yet. You haven't either gotten the help that you want. You don't want help. That's another thing, right? A drug addict wants to be helped, or wants to be helped in order to get better. Um, and a lot of times they don't. The high feels too good. I remember guys just making jokes about crack. One guy was at the basketball court one day, and he was like, "I'll do it." He goes, "Yeah, if I tell you what, I would drink liquid crack." And he's looking around. "I would drink it right now." And everybody's laughing. Ha 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 ha. He's dead. He is dead. He's gone. He didn't. The poor guy didn't even make it to his 20s, I don't think. And if he did, it was definitely not high 20s. Um, but so anyway, this little booklet, not to go on, but I do have other stories as well. I did have a friend who I also was very close to, actually, growing up, playing a lot of baseball. He was a good baseball player, and riding skateboards and all that stuff. And one day I was when I got involved in my church, I was coming home. I lived with my grandma for about a year during my first year of working at the church before I moved out on my own to New York City, to Manhattan, I should say. Um, but I was coming home this day, and I'm working at the church. I had a shirt and a tie, and I looked like I had money, right? But it wasn't. It's not a place where you go get rich. I was just there trying to help people, and but I had money to buy clothes and food and all that stuff, and eventually move out on my own, right? So I looked more successful than, to someone, especially someone who needed some money, right? So anyway, I'm walking out of the train station. I'm heading to my house, and this kid that I grew up with, basically, sees me, and he goes, "Oh, John, man, what's up, man? How you doing, man?" And I shook his hand. I said, "How you doing, man?" And I knew right away that he was just gone. And he was like, "Yo, man, let me talk to you, man. Let me talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "Man, can you help me, man? I need some money, man." And he goes, "Look, man, look." And he lifts his uh his shirt and goes like this. He goes, "Look, man." And he lifts both his shirts up, and he's got tracks, like heroin tracks, on both arms, and they're disgusting. They it was like I almost gagged because it was so gross, and I kind of just looked away, and I was like, "Oh man." I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm sorry, man." And I was trying to help him, give him solutions, but you can see that there's no, does not want to listen. He's just like, Yeah, no, I know. I gotta get cleaned up. I gotta get cleaned up, man. Can you help me out with a couple of bucks? I was like, yeah. I mean, listen, there's a place that you can go to, and I was giving him some places that I knew locally. And he was like, yeah, no, I know about that place. Yeah, no, I know. I gotta go. So I gotta get my ID also and a real thing. But yeah, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. No, yeah, yeah. I just right now, I just need a couple bucks. I just want to get some food and stuff like that. So then I was just like, all right. So I gave him, and he said, I'm gonna pay you back. I'm gonna pay you back. And I said, it's all right. You don't have to pay me back. He goes, no, no, you're going to be here tomorrow. You're going to be around here at this time tomorrow. And I said, yeah, I mean, this is what time I get home. So I get home at the same time. If you want to be here, I'll meet you here. So he goes, all right, I'll be here. I'll be here. I was like, all right, all right. So I gave him like $5 or something. $5 was all he really wanted. So I gave him the $5. Off he runs. Um, of course, I never saw him again. And by the looks of things, I don't think he made it. I really don't. And I was there at 3 o'clock, and I wasn't waiting for him, but I passed by at that time, and of course he wasn't there. But these kinds of stories stuck with me because I thought to myself, this was at one point a kid who was just like me. We were just talking about things that kids talk about. We were talking about the hacky sack and the candies and buying the 25 cents juices and running around with our skateboards, and then there was breakdancing and the music, the hip hop that was being born, the rap music that everybody was talking about, that was just starting to kind of become a thing. And and we lost so many. Who knows how many amazing artists we lost to drugs. So anyway, that's my little talk about drugs today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I mean, it wasn't all enjoyable. But I think sometimes you have to tell stories that are harsh, that have facts in them. And this booklet from you can also visit drugfreeworld.org to get some of these booklets on your own if you want to give them out to people. But I will send you one of these free of charge. All you have to do is just email me again at protonmail.com. John Henry Soto at, where is it? There you go. John Henry Soto at protonmail.com with the title, The Truth About Drugs in the title. And I'll know that that's regarding this booklet. And I will send that out to you ASAP. You can actually get more information on where to get more. They're not expensive if you want to get like a package. I have a bunch of them here. And I'll probably order a bunch more just to hand them out. And there's some great information, just some wonderful information based on, research on basically what these drugs are and what they do, and and hopefully they can help some people. That's the reason why I do that. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful day out there. Take care of yourselves. Make today great. Do things that you love and take care of each other. God bless you all. And as always, peace.